and then also chronic pain, that I was diagnosed with interstitial cystitis and prostatitis, and doctors told me I would never get better, and I went to a point of suicide. I had reached a point where I was not going to live like that. It was so bad. I don't know if people understand how bad it was, but I was literally researching how to paralyze myself from the waist down, how to different countries I could go to get my organs removed, my prostate, my bladder, things like that, because I reached a point after about a year of suffering that there was no way that I was gonna live like that. I didn't consider it suicide. I considered it as like outing myself, because I was not gonna live like that anymore. I mean, I couldn't sustain that pain. So anyway, by the grace of God, I found a book that opened up my eyes to a whole new world, and realized that the conventional medication or Medicare healthcare route was making me sicker and sicker, flooding me with antibiotics, and doing all these tests. And honestly, not every shoe, okay, fits all. Okay, so I'm not talking. A lot. You could have bacteria or a parasite, or you could have things that are going on. Obviously, I'm talking to people that have excluded serious illness, that are dealing with more of a symptomatic situation in relation to chronic pain, and that you can't find help with. And I'm not by any means telling anybody to out themselves because of pain. What I am saying is that I was worst case scenario, to me. The pain was that bad where I was going to paralyze myself from the waist down. So, and I had a really high threshold for pain, actually, at the time. So people ask me, well, how'd you deal with it emotionally? Well, I really didn't. I didn't eat. I was not socializing. I became annexed. I became, my whole life, you become into survival mode. There is no life outside of just trying to get better. Period. I mean, that's just how it is. The chronic pain, there is no life outside of trying to get better. I don't care what anyone says. There was just, you could not focus. I mean, it's like having a sword sticking through your foot, in my case, my bladder, and you're like, okay, don't focus on that. And one of the treatments, one of the cures is paradoxical relaxation, which is a similar, all this really ties together. In chronic pain or anxiety, our natural response is to tense those areas, because you're not comfortable with the pain, so you want it to go away, so you fight it. You fight the anxiety, you're fighting the pain, and you're making it worse. So it's a paradoxical approach, and it's real, and it's hard to do, and it takes practice. A lot of us want that instant fix. It's, sometimes people get lucky, but even if you find a medication that works, it is not sustainable for most people, whether it's anxiety, depression, and or chronic pain. So, you get on opiates or whatever. In my case, pain medication wouldn't even work. If it had, I would be taking it. I didn't care, because I was about to out myself. So, but the message is, there's always a way, right? I found a way, and I got better. I'm here today 100% pain-free, after doctors told me I never ever would be, because I found a book, and I realized that knowledge is very powerful. So the steps that you have to take, the first is knowledge. I would say, knowledge, educating yourself. Do not just rely on doctors. In my mind, okay, so I'm not a doctor, right? And that's the crazy thing is, after, oh my gosh, like 10 different specialists, urologists, so all these different tests, couldn't get better. And the same thing went when I had chronic nausea years later. Chronic nausea, right? Come on, bro. Like, went to all these specialists, endoscopies, colonoscopies, I had cystoscopies. They took my gallbladder, guys. They took out an organ that had nothing wrong with it. Are you serious? I'm missing a gallbladder. I'm missing an organ now because the doctors are that stupid. Yeah, I said it. I would say it again. I will say it to their faces. Every single conventional doctor that I've ever met is an absolute moron, an absolute idiot. They save lives in certain situations, but in relation to, and I know it's harsh. I know it's harsh, but it is what it is. Okay, they made me so sick, and they put me into a bad spot. What should have been, a 1 month thing has been a 9.5 year thing. Okay, guys. So, yeah, thanks to the medical community. But yes, they save lives in a lot of ways, and there's a place for conventional medicine, and it's a fascinating. There's fascinating breakthroughs all the time. Surgeries, yada yada, X and X. This is my story, so don't get all heated and upset and leave me negative comments, because this is my story. And yes, if I have a damn heart attack or something like that, and I go to the doctors and they save my life, yes, there's those scenarios. But in relation to anxiety, depression, a lot of chronic pain disorders, especially the ones that they can't figure out, nah, man, that shit sucks. So alternative medication or alternative healthcare, these sort of things, and that's what I'm realizing, that a lot of the things that I didn't fix, it's because of society and the way this society is set up to make me sicker. Because we've eroded what it means to be human. We've taken away all the building blocks that it takes to have a happy life, okay? And a lot of people, okay, so I have this rating system, 1 to 10, and you can apply that to pain, depression, anxiety. 1 is feeling your absolute worst. When I was in a constant panic attack all the time, depersonalized, lack of emotion, just fogged out in my skull, chronic pain, everything was just, my skin was burning, my bladder was flaring. I mean, it was pure hell. There's no other way to describe it. It's pure hell. Satan himself couldn't have designed a more impressive hell than I was in at that time. And the only reason I say that is not really to complain, but to get across to you guys that I went from that on the pain front to zero pain now. And it wasn't through medication, and it wasn't through anything other than learning techniques to get rid of that. So there's hope, and one shoe does not fit all, but in your situation there's always hope. You can get better, and sometimes you have to research and arm yourself with knowledge outside of these doctors or these experts' opinions, because that's what I did. And actually I found a doctor, and he was an expert, but it was in a whole different modality of pelvic floor release with all the stuff that I talked about there. You can check out my other videos for that. Okay, so then I like to say that I like these metaphors with anxiety and depression. We're sort of like, it's like a wall, and you don't even realize you're building it. But every time you have you're yelled at, or you're in a negative situation, or you drink a beer to self-medicate, and there's a huge difference. Most people that are drunks or alcoholics are actually self-medicating, and I know, because my family, I have come from a long history of alcoholics, and they have everything from agoraphobia to depressive disorders, anxiety, all that stuff. And what they're doing is self-medicating with anxiety, or self-medicating with sorry, I was looking at a cop. Self-medicating with drugs, and alcohol, which is a drug. But anyway, so on a 1, that was my 1, and a 10 would be like Eckhart Tolle, average person 6.57. And at that, you're functioning, you're going to work, you're not depersonalized, you might have some slight brain fog. A lot of these people, they still feel like shit. They're drinking coffee, before work. As soon as they get up, they're dragging their butt over to the coffee machine. They're like, oh my God, I need my coffee. Let me put some sugar in it. And then they're gonna go and this might be you, and it was me. So I'm just saying, this is my rating system. Okay, I'm not judging anybody. It's just the way it is. And then by the time they get to work, they have another cup. You know, they may or may not be a little overweight. They're not comfortable in their body. They're not exercising, but they've got kids, they've got bills, they've got stress, sedentary job. They're not getting sunlight. You're not getting any core thing that human being needs to function normally. You were not designed by God in evolution. Yes, I believe in both. You are not designed to feel like crap all day and have to medicate with drugs, coffee, caffeine, and sugar. And then you get off work and the only thing that can make you feel a little bit relaxed is a glass of wine or a few beers. And you go to sleep and then you rinse and repeat every day. That's not what life's about. That's not how it's supposed to be. You do not have to settle for that. We're just like, oh, well, that's how it is, you know, because everybody feels that way, so that's how it is. Oh, it's part of aging. No, it's not. The human body was designed to wake up early, feeling refreshed, not needing caffeine, feeling energetic and being in sunlight, finding food and being social all day, coming back, you know, to your community, socializing, and then going to bed early, sleeping great, having REM, deep sleep. That's not happening nowadays. Because people think that, and myself included, and this is what I'm learning. We think that, you know, all these things are here to make life easier, yet they don't make life easier. It's a mirage. They make you able to do more things quicker. Instead of having to go to the post office or actually going in to talk to people, now you can do it all from your phone, order your groceries, order your supplies, order everything from your phone. And that's creating anxiety. I realize that. There's so many bricks in my wall that I didn't even know were bricks because society kept coming up with all these technological advances that I was able to use to make life easier. By making life easier, I was increasing my anxiety and building bricks, putting bricks in my wall, until one day I just was like, wow, I haven't seen anybody in a while. I don't have to see anybody. I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to do anything. And now I'm anxious. I don't want to be around people. It's freaking ridiculous. So the only way to take your wall down, in my opinion, is to start pulling bricks away every time. Maybe if you go to the gas station, go inside and pay. Talk to a cashier. You know, like do little things. I'm on my phone all the time. I need it. I'm addicted to it. I get shaky if I'm not around it. I'm freaking out. I feel like I'm lost. It's my best friend. I need it. I needed to constantly do research to reassure myself of different things related to my anxiety and this and that. Once again, it's all a mirage. It's a clutch or a crutch that's designed to. You think it's enabling you, but it's disabling. It's disabling all of us. So I'm starting to make little steps, and my goal one day is to have go back to a flip phone. I don't need all of this. We didn't have it 15 years ago and people were just as happy. You look at the rates of depression, they're going up by 400% in the past 10 years. And the amount of medications we're taking have gone up 400%. That does not make sense. That math does not add up. Most people that are taking medications that I've talked to, at some point they're trying to come off of it because they're not doing the sustainable things to get better when they do use the bridge to start to feel better. People don't have Prozac deficiencies and that sort of thing. The walls, when you start to become symptomatic of anxiety or chronic pain, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Your body's in your liver or your brain has been sabotaged for years by poor lifestyle, diet, and all those things, to the point where now you're symptomatic and you can't expect to get back to a healthy state, overnight. And if you find a bridge, a medication that's working, I think that you should try to do the healthier lifestyle factors to get better. I'm trying to just remember everything I talked about before, but it just snowed here, so I'm like, I got my 4-wheel drive, which is great. We got 8 inches of snow, which is pretty cool. But I'll shoot another video later to talk about how I'm doing, and on that scale from 1 to 10, 10 being Eckhart Tolle, 1 being your worst case ever, you can't get from a 1 to a 10 overnight. unless God decides, a miracle or something. You have to go through each step. You have to be okay with being a 1 before you can be a 2. And then you have to accept being a 2 before you can get to a 3. When you start accepting how you feel and where you're at, instead of fighting it and looking at everyone else and saying, this guy's a 10, this guy's a 5, this guy's a 6. I wish I could be a 6. I wish I could function. I wish I could go to the store. I wish I could go on a run, or whatever it is in your situation. That's not how you have to approach it. You have to approach it by saying, I accept that I'm the way I am. And doing that is the first step. The whole surrendering to God, the acceptance and the knowledge is the first 2 steps to getting better. And start to implement changes that you can do personally. And everybody's different. So like for me, I was damn near last week borderline agoraphobic. I was starting to close in because of my adrenal fatigue, my lack of energy, and feeling just malaise. I didn't want to do anything, didn't want to go anywhere. Still don't. But I started like, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go here. So I've been going out, and I hate that. I hate that, last year I was doing a lot better. I like to say I was probably like a 6, which is the highest I've been in, 10 years, mentally. And then I slid back to a 1 for sure. Just recently, a few months ago, I was laying in, I would take a bath or a shower and just think about doing things that I won't even repeat, but you can probably understand. I just didn't want to be around anymore. I couldn't deal with it anymore. The DP was coming back, all that stuff. I was just feeling fatigued and fogged and achy and just like death all the time. So I started arming myself with knowledge. And I started figuring out what I need to do for myself. And that's learning the things that you can't get with medication. And those things I'm talking about are mindfulness, prayer, being part of a social organization. These are things that personally I need to do that I don't have. I'm so comfortable being by myself that I don't want to be around other people, but I realize in order to get better, I need to be around people. I'm going to join a church. I'm hoping to go tomorrow. Watching a lot of positive things. I've been changing what I'm watching a lot of Christian movies, which are actually helping me out, a ton, changing a lot, just changing my mindset and trying to get better. And I'm also looking into going keto. There's a lot of things I'm looking into doing, and these are, that's for me, but I have to set up a routine, and I have to be careful, and I have to learn to love myself and appreciate my situation. If you can appreciate where you're at, you're going to be better very quickly. If you can learn to say, God put me here because of X, Y, Z. Either he wanted me to reach out to him, or I was not living a life that is conducive to that. And if I hadn't gotten sick, then for me, I would be dead right now. If I had never gotten sick, I would absolutely be dead right now. I was very destructive and suicidal and binge drinking and getting into lots of crazy stuff. I would drink and then climb up hotels. I'd climb down balconies 10 stories up. I thought I was invincible. I was crazy. Often get into car accidents, hurt myself, drinking, and then I got sick. And it forced me to learn and recognize. And I'll tell you, the closer I've been getting to God, the better I feel. And it's hard to do because I've been trapped in this nightmare misery for so long that I have to condition myself to be positive. And it's sad and it sucks, and it's going to take time. It took time to get here, and it's going to take time to get out of it. Just as long as you're doing something healthy every day, just make a change, make a healthy change every day. It's going to build into a snowball and eventually an avalanche and take away these negative symptoms. I'll shoot more about this stuff later, and I'll keep you guys updated. But appreciate it. You guys take care, subscribe, talk to you later. Bye.